I want to show you where we're going. It's going to take us possibly a couple class periods to get here, but you're going to learn how to do we're going to go into rectangles. That's our shape of the day. And we're going to learn how to put a lid on a box and how easy it is. So to get started, if you would turn to page 13 in your sketchbook. So here's 13, but we're going to put our sketchbook horizontal. Now to get started, you definitely need a straight edge. At least I surely do when I'm drawing this. And the first thing that I'm going to do is a large rectangle. And along the left side, so kind of by the number of the page, I don't need to leave a ton of space because I'm not going to be doing a lot on this edge. So I'm going to draw a nice line like this. Notice I've left a bit of space on the bottom and a little bit of space on the top.
Are you using the 3 or the 6?
It really doesn't matter at this point. You could even use a number 2 pencil because we're just getting the basic lines and you will darken them in. I'm drawing fairly dark so that you can see it, but you might want to draw a little bit lighter just so that if you want to do any adjusting. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay, now I don't have a very big edge here, but I'm going to lay it here and then kind of eyeball it that it's somewhat straight. And notice I want to go about this far. I will need a good amount of space here. So a horizontal line there. And I probably drew this line a little bit too long there. Now I'm going to go to the bottom here. And again, what we're after is a rectangle. So I'm going to lay it there. Now, of course, if you had a ruler, you could do your measurements to get it exact. I'm assuming that kids don't have rulers. And then I'm going to close up my rectangle. I'm going to lay it here on the top. Close it up. Erase the overhang. I didn't quite get it all the way here. So you now have the basic shape of a rectangle. We're going to 3D this rectangle, which is exactly like you did in the previous squares. And again, if I were lining it and thinking, I probably would have moved my rectangle down a little bit, but that's okay, it still works. So what I'm going to do here is I am just going to match up this corner. Now notice that my straight edge is not very long. So I'm going to switch to a ruler just because I believe your straight edges are a bit larger. So you want that rectangle there. Maybe avoid the spine of your book, but you can go pretty close up there. diagonal here and we need a diagonal here. This is a pretty large span. Like this is a large span to slide. I can still do it this way. Let me try it and see if it works. So I'm laying it here and I'm simply going to pull straight down with my box. And look at that. I get to that corner with the bottom. So I'm going to draw that in. But let me show you also another way. Another way would be to take and measure the sideline of your rectangle, mark it, and then simply slide this corner and see if my mark is where my line is. Oh, it's pretty close. Yeah, get a little off here. Pretty close. So say you didn't like my slide method, you could simply measure your sideline there, mark it, and then put this point up on your diagonal up here, mark it here, go up here, mark it here. Then you have the dot to dot method. So that wasn't such a bad slide. This one, because of this silly spine, can get a little bit more difficult. So what I'm going to do is lay it here, and I'm going to slide to that corner. Again, we don't want to start with a wonky rectangle. So I can do the same thing here. I can take this measurement here, mark it right there, and then with that mark there, I put it here. Voila, I got pretty close. I put it, let's see here. I gotta switch this because I can't show you on the camera. So I put my mark here, I hold it, voila, I got pretty close. So the slide method worked for me here, but again, I was pretty slow and patient to do that. What you don't want is, if these are not parallel, your box is going to look skewed. So the next step would be to draw our side wall. So to draw our side wall, we simply need to pick a space anywhere. You don't want to be too close to your spine just because, well, yeah. You want this to be, for what we're going to do, give yourself a fairly long space on the line. So I'm going to put right there. Now, keep in mind, you can do your measurement. So I'm going to lay this there, and I'm going to mark this. And I could do the slide down, put that there, mark it here, and then I know if I connect the dots, I connect these dots. Say you don't want to connect the dots, you don't want to do the measurement. Another way you could do it is slide till you get there. Let's see if we get very close. I would say I was a bit off. No, pretty close. So draw the 3D there. And then this measurement here, again, I'm going to check because my straight edge is really marked up. Okay, so there's my marking. I'm going to go here with that same marking, put my dot there, and I'm going to connect my dots. I think that I am a little bit off, so let me check that again. Again, I got going pretty fast, so I'm going to go there. Yep, I'm a little bit off. It's a little bit more difficult to do the slide method just because of the spine in the book. And that's not working. My book just twisted underneath me. So I'll lay it here. You can kind of eyeball this and go, well, does that look fairly parallel? Let's try it. So put the back walls of your rectangle in. Erase your overhang. Now for our next step, I love this step. Super impressive. 2 lines, a parallel line with this and a parallel line with this, and we'll have the lid to our shoebox. So think to yourself, like, how far, what would be the depth of this little lid? So I'm going to lay it here. Now I could use measurements, but I'm going to just do the slide method, and I'm going to go, that looks about like a lid, 1 line there, and then a diagonal line, not just putting it in there, but actually you want it to truly be parallel. Voila, you have a shoebox with a lid. So put those 2 lines in. Okay, Hannah. I see you, Hannah.
Here.
Jack.
Here.
Okay. Xavier. Maria.
Here.
Awesome. Jonathan.
Here.
And William.
Here.
Nice. Excellent. All righty. I'll go through that again, not just to tell you who I have as absent. So if I want to make sure that I have not messed up. So having marked absent today, I have Yasmin, Jaden Cohen, Jaden Edgel, Erica Johnson, Haley Larson.
Here.
Oh, who's answering me?
Erica Johnson.
Okay, good. Good thing I go over this. All righty. Haley Larson, Olivia Stacy, Xavier. So if any of you are there, please speak up. Alrighty, so now I'm going to pencil the word in with just little simple lines with a lot of space because I'm going to thicken the lines up. So I'm going to do the word Nike. So the first pull is straight up and down. It needs to make sure that it's parallel with the side of my box. So watch this a moment and then I'll give you the chance to do it. So I'm going to put a pull like that. The other pull is also, and notice I can just lay my straight edge right there. And I'm going to connect the two like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell myself, okay, this word is going to be thickened a bit. So I'm going to put another one here. I'm going to put another one here. Now I'm going to go with the I. Gonna leave plenty of space, at least the same amount of space. And again, some of this, because we are freehand drawing, we kind of eyeball some stuff. I'm gonna thicken these. Space. So take a moment now to, I would not darken these in yet, but put the word in there using your straight edge so it's nice and straight. And I'll give you a moment to do that. Okay, now we're going to put the Nike swoosh. And everybody says, how do you do that? Really, it's not that difficult. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to do a wide U and go up. So I start here. I act like I'm going to do a wide U and then I swoop up. Then I come inside and I do a very small U and connect it. Now I might see that I want it to start a little bit above there. I know we haven't darkened and really detailed our letters, which is fine. But what I want to do now is get rid of my guidelines, because when we shade, it's really difficult to get rid of them once the shading has begun. So take a moment, and I will be darkening them. I hate to get rid of these great shavings, but I am right now. So we're going to value shade our rectangle, but before we do, we're also going to put lettering and a label in our box. So to get started, I'm going to put the label in my box. To do this, I'm going to double this line here, and I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to double it there. I'm then going to come inside here, and again, this is going to be super tiny, but it's just that paper label. Put a line there, go on this edge and put a line here. And for today, what that's going to tell us is we want to keep some shading outside of the label here, because we will finish that, but probably not today. So here's where we're going. We will get to the shading, but we will save that. What we're going to do is get the lettering in. And I had previously drawn this, and what I want to show you is you want this to look as real as possible. Well, I'm going to show you what not to do. If you do this, that almost goofs my whole drawing up because it's so off. So in order to make this look as real as possible, I need to follow my diagonals, and I need to make sure they're parallel. So here's where we're going, and this is what we're going to want it to look like. So I'm going to erase my what not to do and show you how we get there. Again, guidelines, as much as we don't like them, we're going to put some guidelines in. So my first word here will be the word Nike. Here's my guidelines. It's going to take me 1, 2, 3. So if you would quickly put in 3 there. So we're still on the guideline portion. I'm going to leave some space in here to do another little swoosh. And then I want to be able to write the size, because of course on the side of the box, we always have to know where to find when we're looking for a size. Now I don't know if you can tell, but look at how my diagonal is off. If it's off now, it's going to look off when I finish. So erase that. Again, I'm going to leave some space in there, and I'm going to and your label can look different than mine. But you want these lines, and I would say mine is definitely not perfect. So I got a little bit lazy here, my last 2. So this looks parallel with that, but having some, for me, I can tell it's this line is off. And some of you asked me, well, what pencil are you using? To do my guidelines, I'm just using a number 2. This would be a place you could also use the point of a mechanical drawing pencil, even though I detest those for doing art. Okay, I think that looks better. So take a moment to put in your guidelines. So to do my lettering, this is what's most important. If you have a long pull, as in the N, the I, the K, the E, what you need to know is that the N goes with the sideline of your rectangle. So the N goes up and down. And then you might want to do a small here. But notice these long poles go with parallel to the sideline. The I goes parallel to the sideline. The Z uses my guideline. And I love the E's. See how impressive you're going to be when the long poles of a letter go with the long edges of my line, of my box. The I, the K, the E. And then I connect my N. I goes with the long pole. Remember, it's a U that extends. Thicken your letters up, and then erase your guidelines. And that's a perfect stopping point, except for, let's go ahead, since we have our straight edge, let's go ahead and put a counter line so when we have that for shading, my straight edge is not very, and we will be completely ready for shading our box. And I think that's a great stopping point. Thicken letters, erase your guidelines, and we'll wait on the shading till we meet again. So after you have thickened your letters, and I like to kind of put a top and a bottom to my letters, which simply follow the diagonals. I like the E's also follow the diagonals. And get your guidelines out of there. Our shading will swallow up some of the guidelines, but since we haven't started shading yet, this is a good time to get rid of the guidelines.